Good afternoon, and thank you very much for being here with us as we come together to call for the cancellation of Wednesday night's Mask Off event by Cowboy Concrete. I want to introduce some of the folks who are here standing with us, starting with Mayor Sylvester Turner, who has done a masterful job leading the city of Houston through this public health pandemic. Councilmember David Robinson, who is a city leader who has spent his career fighting for strong and healthy neighborhoods and a strong and healthy city. Councilmember Abby Kamen cannot be here with us because she is about to be a mother at any moment. And so she has sent a statement that I will proudly read for you all. Super Neighborhood 22, he was represented by some of the folks who are involved, including President Mike Van Dusen. He is a veteran in the fight to protect the health, safety, and quality of life of the neighbors who live up along Washington Street corridor. And most importantly, the real heroes of this pandemic are local healthcare workers who every day are putting their lives on the line to make sure that we all remain safe and healthy. We are going to hear from Dr. Christina Probst and Dr. May Wynn. So thank you all. All of us will be available to answer your questions at the end of this short presentation. We are here to condemn the event on Wednesday night by Concrete Cowboy, which is just a few blocks away. They are planning to hold a large mask-off party where for hours indoors, drinking, dancing, shouting at one another, they will incur the additional risk that we see through this COVID-19 pandemic and the varieties that are here and the variants that are widespread throughout our city. This is a dangerous event, and it is an event called for on the very day that Governor Greg Abbott has said that we can release the restrictions that have been put in place to protect us. This is unquestionably a super spreader event that will literally kick off the fourth surge of COVID in our Houston area. It will endanger the lives of these healthcare workers, those who work in the nightclubs, the customers, and the community members in this neighborhood. This is a dangerous, irresponsible event that is literally a slap in the face of our healthcare workers that are risking their lives, those family members who have lost loved ones, and all of Houstonians who honor the sanctity of life over getting an overpriced cocktail. I do applaud those responsible bar owners who are taking this moment and doing it right. And for those, we should absolutely reward them. But what Governor Abbott has done is give a license to the irresponsible individuals to risk our public health when he should be pulling their liquor license. And so what we are asking for is that all Houstonians continue to follow the public health safety measures of socially distancing, wearing your mask, flattening the curve, getting vaccinated. We are calling on responsible bar owners. Do things in the right way that protect our safety. And again, for those who are doing it, who are continuing to enforce the responsible things, let's show them and show up for them. And to our young Houstonians, you are going to live with the consequence of this decision. It is not just the health that you are risking to those around you who are compromised, but it is your own health. We do not yet know the implications of COVID, and you are going to live with your choices for the rest of your life. And so just because we can do something doesn't mean that we should. And we are truly asking Houstonians to be responsible and be thoughtful of this community as we move forward. And I ask Mayor Turner to step up.
Thank you. Look, I'm gonna take one of them off, but please, Scott, look, it is preventable. So I want to thank one of the healthcare providers for providing this mask to me because it is preventable. It's ironic that when the governor has said you can take your mask off, that many of us are wearing two masks because this virus is still very much prevalent. Let me start off by thanking Representative Ann Johnson I can't thank you enough for your leadership, for what you're doing, being in the district, and then for what you're doing in the legislature. So thank you, and I look forward to working very closely with Representative Ann Johnson. I also certainly want to acknowledge Councilmember David Robinson, who has just been very active on all fronts, an at-large council member. So thank you, Councilmember Robinson. But most importantly, to these heroes, and they are heroes, to all of these healthcare providers. They have been on the front line now for more than a year. And to kind of, and look, and it's been a tiring job, and they've made tremendous sacrifice. But just this weekend in the city of Houston, we have passed the 2,000 mark of the people who have died from this virus. Just this weekend. And to kind of give you some idea of what we are still fighting, since Governor Abbott was last in Houston about a week ago Friday, as of today, at least 68 people have been reported dead since his last visit in the city of Houston. 68. We oftentimes kind of get lost when we say these daily numbers, 10, 8, 11, like today. But in just a little over 1 week's time, more than 68 people have lost their lives. And today we're reporting 493 more cases of people who have contracted the virus. And then bear in mind, there are 5 variants that are in the city of Houston, 5. And they're moving at a rapid rate, which means we're doing everything we can to get the shots in people's arms as quickly as possible. These healthcare providers, medical professionals have been working around the clock. But I'm just concerned, Representative Johnson, that with the governor opening up the entire state and saying pretty much 100% across the board, you can take your mask off, rolling back those provisions, that we will face another surge. It will be the 4th. And bear in mind, twice before, when the numbers were moving in the right direction, the governor eased the restrictions and the numbers started going back up. This could be that 3rd particular case. The other thing that people should bear in mind is that what I'm hearing more and more of is that promoters across the country are saying that because Texas is open, fully open, because they can't hold their events in their respective cities, in their states, they are bringing their events to Texas. And that poses a serious risk. So in addition, for example, to bars and clubs having these masked off parties, and I would sincerely ask them not to do that, we also have to bear in mind that there are events that cannot be held in other states that are now looking to places like the city of Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, and Austin to hold those events. And so this is just not the right time. I do want to join with Representative Johnson in thanking the many businesses across the city of Houston who are doing the right thing. I cannot thank them enough. And I want to thank them. And unfortunately, the order that the governor put forth puts them in a bad situation, because it now places the onus of trying to, police or protect their customers and patrons from getting the virus. It puts them in a very bad and difficult situation. And I understand that. And so, and that should not, and it doesn't have to be the case. So again, I just want to ask people as we move forward, you know, you've heard it over a year's time. Keep your mask on, okay? Engage in the social distancing, the proper, all of the things that you've heard are the things that still need to take place. And the sad part of it all, the sad part, 2 to 3 months from now, the landscape could have looked so different than what it is today. I want everything to open up. Okay. And 2 to 3 months will look a lot different than today. But when you open up everything 100%, and you say to local officials like the county judge and others, if by chance this virus reached a point where 15% or the people in these hospitals, for example, are getting the virus and it's for 7 consecutive days, then you can step in. Why put us in a position of stepping in when there's a crisis again? When it's done, it doesn't have to be a crisis at all. All of this is foreseeable and preventable. So to the businesses that are doing the right thing, thank you so very much. To the people who are wearing their masks and keeping their masks on, thank you so very, very much. And to others who just want to go all the way and say, take off your mask and all of that, let me ask you to think about it again. And I'm still going to make the plea. And what I would say to the governor, with all due respect, there's nothing wrong with stepping back and reversing and imposing the mask mandate again. There's nothing wrong with that. So until that takes place, let's be responsible. Let's try to keep our friends, neighbors, and family members alive. And let's try to bear in mind, these healthcare professionals don't need more work. Let's do everything we can to make their work even less. Thank you, Representative Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor Turner. This time we're going to hear from Councilmember David Robinson.
Thank you, Representative Johnston, and thank you, Mayor Turner, and thanks so much to all the healthcare professionals that are here. My point here today, I'm the at-large council member, David Robinson, position 2 for the city, but I'm really here to talk about some of the roots of this great city. It is the most diverse city in the United States of America. We are the city that has the largest medical center in the world, the Texas Medical Center. We are the energy capital of the world. We're the city where NASA is. We know about science. We know about medicine. I'm a grassroots leader. I'm a neighborhood leader. We're in super neighborhood number 22. It's a mile away from the neighborhood where I live. But this great city of diverse neighborhoods is all about coming together. Makes me think of loving thy neighbor, Mayor. And I think that's a common principle regardless of your faith. And in this neighborhood, we're standing with Mike Van Duzen from super neighborhood number 22. We're standing with folks who live in this community, that live and breathe the air of this community. This is Texas. We drive friendly, we're hospitable. This is inconsistent with the city of Houston, the love of our diverse neighborhoods, and being good to one another. Opening these bars irresponsibly is not personal responsibility. What we need is more civil and civic responsibility. We must think about those who live around us. We must bear the science of the medical professionals in the largest medical center in the world who are here. Thank goodness. This is a time for Houston to really show its muster, to show what we can do by doubling down on our commitment to one another, being patient with the science, with the healthcare practitioners, thinking about neighborhoods, following the local leadership, who are the ones that have to hear from the doctors. We are the ones at City Hall that understand the body count, the infection rates. We hear this on a regular basis, and I know our mayor and Representative Johnson in Austin will do everything we can to try to convince some of our leadership in Austin what we can do. We need to be patient, and at this point, deferring to the medical experts, I'd like to second the motion. Thank you, Representative Johnson.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Robinson. And as Councilmember Robinson mentioned, he is one of our at-large positions for this area, but Councilwoman Abby Kamen is the representative from District C, which encompasses this business as well. And she wants to make sure that everybody knows the behavior of this establishment is dangerous and is running counter to the very efforts that we are trying to put forth to get our economy back on track. This is the exact type of thing that Governor Abbott knew would happen. Yet, just like this business, they have chosen to play with people's lives. If we want business to get back to normal, we have to follow the science. And this mask off party is a terrible, selfish decision that is literally putting people's lives at risk. Councilmember Kamen requests that our residents support the businesses that are doing it right and putting the lives of employees, patrons, and our community first. That's the only way that we are going to get through this. Again, Councilwoman Kamen appreciates the efforts that we're doing here, and Mayor Turner, she appreciates your leadership with this critical message to continue to protect one another. That is the Houston way. And so thank you again, Mayor Turner, for being here, Councilmember Robinson for putting up these efforts. And at this time, I'm going to call Dr. Christina Probst, who is one of our pediatric physicians here connected with our Memorial Hermann group. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Representative Johnson, Mayor Turner, and Councilman. My name is Christina Probst. I'm a pediatrician affiliated with Memorial Hermann Greater Heights Hospital here in Houston. As a physician and as a mother, I am appalled by and frankly terrified by the recent reckless rollback of CDC recommended evidence-based COVID-19 mitigation and prevention measures here in Texas. Physicians and other healthcare workers have sacrificed immensely in the past year. From the scramble initially for basic life-saving PPE, which continues to this very day, to seeing our loved ones, our patients, our staff, and our colleagues falling ill, we've had a truly exhausting, emotional, and challenging year. Everyone behind me has spent countless hours studying, analyzing data, worrying about our patients, worrying about our families, missing time with our families, and missing some of life's major milestones, just as everyone has. And yet so much of the morbidity and mortality of this horrendous pandemic truly was preventable. And that's the honest and raw tragedy of what is going on here now. Currently, 7% of Texans are vaccinated. To reach herd immunity, we need at least 70% of Texans to be immunized. Texas has endured 2.7 million confirmed cases of COVID-19, and we have suffered nearly 45,000 deaths directly attributable to this virus. Mask-off events celebrating the reckless, if not negligent, rollback of COVID-19 prevention measures is like pouring salt in a gaping wound for healthcare workers in this city, in this county, and in this great state. In Texas terms, it's like celebrating a fumble in the red zone when the winning touchdown is just within reach. I urge my elected officials, my fellow citizens, please to remain vigilant and careful. Please continue to wear masks, to remain socially distanced, to socialize outdoors on a beautiful day like today. Get tested and please get vaccinated as soon as you can with any of the excellent COVID-19 vaccines currently available. Thank you very much.
At this time, we're going to hear from Dr. May Nguyen. Dr. May Nguyen is a physician and a board member with Doctors for America.
Thank you very much and good afternoon. Thank you to all of the elected employees who are here to focus on what can we do to help protect our communities. I'm a family physician, I'm a medical educator, and the past year has been really hard on all of us. It's been really exhausting to be working in the hospitals, pulling extra shifts, being afraid, am I going to take this infection home to my family and get them sick? Am I going to get my parents sick, my grandparents sick? You know, what can we do? And the thing is that this is very preventable. And if we just took measures and we kept these measures in place to help keep us all safe, we could make it through this. The hard part is that we're all really tired of it, right? But the infection is not tired of us, and we're not done. So with so many people who are still getting sick, with infection rates artificially low because we didn't do a lot of testing and we didn't keep up the vaccinations during the winter storm disaster, we don't have totally accurate numbers right now of how many people are sick. And as Mayor Turner said, with evidence of all 5 contagious variants of the disease here in Houston, the first city to have that, this is not the time to roll back this mask mandate. New research from the CDC shows that places that don't have a mask mandate or are allowing in-person dining are more likely to have more COVID infections. And every time we've pulled back on measures in this state, we have seen that happen. Numbers will rise in the next 6 to 8 weeks. It's going to happen. And I don't like being right all the time, but it's going to happen. So what's really tough is that with the mask mandate being removed, this puts all of our frontline workers at greater risk. So people who work in our grocery stores, our restaurants and bars, our law enforcement, our teachers, they are the ones who are going to pay for this. And a disproportionate share of this is going to be on people of color and people who have low wages. Even before the pandemic, we have some of the highest uninsured rates in the country. And I saw in the Chronicle today that the average COVID hospitalization costs $30,000. And I don't know about you, but I don't have an extra $30,000 laying around to pay for that. So we all pay for it through higher insurance premiums, our public dollars to support the public system. And if we just kept these measures in place just a little bit longer until we reach herd immunity, we'll be so much safer, we can make it through it, and fewer of us will get sick and die. So please, I ask everybody to protect your families, your neighborhoods, your workplaces, your communities. Please keep up with the social distancing, hand washing, avoid large indoor gatherings, and please wear a mask. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Nguyen. Thank you both. We're also going to hear from Mike Van Dusen, who has been in the fight with Super Neighborhood 22.
My name is Mike Van Dusen. I'm president of the Washington Avenue Coalition Memorial Park Super Neighborhood, which includes 11 neighborhoods, and they surround this bar. I want to start off by thanking Mayor Turner, Representative Johnson, and other elected officials for asking me to speak about this public health issue in one of the most rapidly densifying areas of Houston. As I'm asking the owners of this bar to reconsider their irresponsibility of the mask-off party and cancel the event. Last year, this establishment was closed twice by the Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission for violating COVID-related occupancy requirements. And this mask-off party is just another display of the owners' cavalier attitude towards the well-being of their patrons and their workers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. We welcome your questions.
Can you talk about how many times this bar has been visited by authorities? I think you said it was closed twice, but how many complaints have there been?
I'm not sure about, there's a number of different events or different complaints that have been filed, noise-related, occupancy-related. TABC is very narrowly focused, as I understand it, and what they can do. And they're primarily focused on alcohol-related violations. But this establishment, I think, just recently reopened from a 60-day closing event that happened in November.
Mayor Turner, on Facebook and social media, I'm sure you see it too, but there is a part of the population that believes that it should be up to the businesses to decide whether or not they should wear masks or not. What do you say to these people that believe it should be dictated by the government?
Well, the reality is this is a public health crisis. It's a global public health crisis. It's a pandemic. And when there's a pandemic, there are certain criteria that we're all abiding by. The CDC is putting forth its guidelines. The healthcare community, they're providing their guidelines. You can't ignore the science, the data. Quite frankly, all of us are tired. I know the healthcare community is tired, but what would you say to them if they decided to all go home? What if the firefighters, EMS workers, police officers, what if they took the conclusion, Mayor, we've had to deal with Harvey, Tropical Storm Imelda, social civil unrest, this virus for 12 months, the winter storm. Mayor, we're tired and we're going home. We're all tired. Quite frankly, I tell you, I'm tired too. But I have a job to do. So being tired is not just restricted to one group. We are still dealing with a global pandemic. And the reality is we're making progress. And I would tell you my position would probably be different if the governor had said, okay, numbers are looking better. We're already at 75%. I'm gonna go ahead and go to 100%, but I'm still going to maintain my order that everybody still must wear their mask. My position would be different. But to take the position that everything is open 100%, you don't have to wear your mask, and we're going to treat this virus as if the virus no longer exists, and as if we are now back more than a year ago prior to the pandemic, now that's wrong. And lastly, what I will say, the reason why we are continuing to be very diligent, I know what happened in 2011 when we had the winter storm and the measures that we did not take. In 2021, we faced the winter storm again, and the consequences have been far higher. It was foreseeable and preventable then, and what we're talking about today in the future in terms of a fourth surge, foreseeable and preventable. So nobody wants businesses to close. I want businesses to stay open. I want them to be able to take care of their families. I got that. But this order does not help businesses. It will cause chaos, conflict, and confusion. It doesn't help businesses. And neither does it help businesses when you have these masked-off parties, or you have promoters bringing events to Texas that they could not hold in their own states. We are not the dumping ground for events that will put Texans in danger and cause people to lose their lives. That's irresponsible.
President Biden was here a week ago along with Governor Abbott. I know that you guys are all kind of in the same spot. Was this discussed with President Biden and Governor Abbott?
Yeah, I was in the meeting at TransStar with the president and the governor right next to him, along with the county judge, myself, congressional delegation, and others. President Biden, a week ago Friday, said in the presence of everyone, we will have to keep our masks on for quite some time. The governor was there, so was I and others. The governor said nothing, totally silent. The president said that in the open meeting. No one took issue with him then. Quite frankly, we shouldn't take issue with him now.
Is there anything you want to tell this specific business owner that's holding this event on Wednesday?
What I would say is not to do it. Okay? Don't treat the virus as if the virus no longer exists. I would say to him, look, listen to all these medical professionals. I do like what the doctor said, and I thought it was very poignant. You don't celebrate a fumble in the end zone. I mean, I couldn't say it any better. You simply do not celebrate a fumble in the end zone. You haven't scored. You fumble. And that's what it seems like we're doing right now. People are celebrating in the end zone when the virus is still saying, I'm here and I got you. And let's not lose sight of the fact people are going to get the virus and people are going to die. And families are going to be impacted. There's a human side to this whole equation. Let's not overlook that.
Has there been an attempt to reach out to the bar owners about the event? And if so, what kind of interaction was there?
Yeah, we've reached out and we haven't heard back. And I know some of your colleagues also referenced yesterday that they reached out and they haven't heard back. And we've seen that they're continuing to promote their event a different way on social media. And I believe they have a history of promoting events and then taking it down and still operating. And so these are the people, these are the neighbors who have seen this business and the way they've operated in the past to the detriment of community safety. And these are the lives of the healthcare workers that are going to be impacted by their reckless decision. And so we're asking them to cancel it. And we're hoping that each one of you is going to make sure they get the message and that they can't say, oops, we didn't know. This is a devastating, deadly event, and it will kick off the force surge that will impact every Houstonian and every healthcare worker. And they have the power to do better. And now they know they have the civic responsibility to do better. Cancel the event.
Are you aware of any other clubs, bars holding similar events?
I am not aware of other clubs and bars that are holding events, but I think this is our concern with this entire corridor and avenue, is we do not want this to be a domino effect from the governor's release to think that you could just have a free-for-all kickoff. We as Houstonians have to demand and do better. And we know that there are businesses out there doing it right and facing almost a backlash of people saying, why are you making us wear a mask? We're making you wear a mask because it saves lives. And if you have any question about that, ask any one of these physicians. This is the difference between life and death. We all support business, but we support responsible business owners that are going to do it right. And so we know that we're all going to continue to go out, but let's just promote the businesses and support those that are following the health guidelines, listening to the medical center, and asking us to wear a mask when we walk in, sit down, eat, and then leave. People are doing it right. These guys are not.
A year ago, the message was flatten the curve. Some people are expressing their frustration on social media because they feel like the curve is being flattened already and that the goalpost is being pushed back. How would you like to respond to that?
You guys want to answer that about flattening the curve and the goalpost changing?
I would say if you look at the data, if you look at the graphs of where we are now, we are plateauing slightly at a horrifically high level. So our curve may be flattening, but if it's flattening up here, that's not a victory. The virus is still in charge.
And let me just say, we are methodically opening things up. We are doing that. There's an announcement coming out this week with respect to my city parks and rec, where we are starting to open things up, but in a very methodical, very measured sort of way. But the last thing that we're going to ask to be removed will be the mask. Because for the 90+% of Texans that are not fully vaccinated, the masks are our protection. So that should be the last thing to go. So we're not moving the goalpost. The reality is that every single time when we started to get improvement, when we reduced the restrictions or loosened the restrictions before crushing the virus resurges. So we have only one time have we reached that 5% level or below. And then the numbers started to go back up. So we're not moving the goalpost. We're just tying our actions to the science, to the data that's being made available to us.
Is there anything that your office can do, or would the governor's orders pretty much cutting you off at the knees?
Pretty much cutting us off, but I want to thank Representative Ann Johnson because we still have our voices. We still can speak, and the public can still respond. Okay, and you don't want to lose your voice. What the governor has said to the local officials is that when it reaches us 15% and it stays there for 7 days, then you can step in. But that's at crisis mode. The best time, we need to crush this virus and we need to drive the numbers down. But having said that, having you all out, stating our case, bringing certain things to people's attention, we just have to exercise our voice and hope and pray that people do the right thing. That's why I want to applaud the businesses, the many who are out there that are doing the right thing. Most businesses are being responsible. So I do want to acknowledge them for that. But I can tell you, businesses do not want to feel as though The state has stepped away, and now you're putting the onus on the backs of businessmen and women to be the responsible parties, and then they have to deal with customers and patrons and coming into their businesses who may not want to wear the mask, and they have mask mandates. That's unfair to them. We work best when we work together. When the state and the private sector are on the same page, that's when we work best. But I shouldn't have to step away from my responsibility to give it to somebody else to do my job. We need to do it together. Thank you, Representative Johnson. Thank you, Representative. Thank you all.
Thank you guys. Thank you. We really do appreciate that.